This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, the head of the Southern DHB's COVID planning team says we're close to peak Omicron. A survivor of the Christchurch mosque shootings is making a pilgrimage to Christchurch for peace. And scientists investigate what's killing penguins around southern coastlines. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. The man in charge of the Southern District Health Board's COVID response unit believes the peak of the Omicron wave is just weeks away, possibly in late March or early April. Hugh Lloyd says the response to COVID-19 has changed significantly as the pandemic has spread around the world.
Changing focus and preparing for the peak. Dr Hugh Lloyd, the head of the Southern District Health Board's COVID-19 Emergency Coordination Centre, says the public messaging has had to change as COVID-19 has changed. Now, rapid antigen testing has become the first step for most people in identifying COVID infection, and the DHB is imploring the public to help the health system out.
I think it's really important that individuals can understand that concept and actually register their tests on My COVID Record, and that'll then step people through how they can manage it themselves.
Dr Lloyd's only been leading the COVID response team here for a few months, but he recalls an initial meeting about COVID-19 nearly 2 years ago when the Prime Minister announced the country's first full lockdown.
And there was just a sheer huge sense of relief within that boardroom. Look, even a couple of us got a little bit of emotional and had to leave that meeting. Because that was the sheer pressure that we were under at that time.
He says lockdowns were one of very few tools available at the time prior to the vaccination program. 2 years down the track, variants including Delta and now Omicron provide very different challenges for his response planning team.
And look, we didn't exactly rip up our plans, but we had to seriously adjust them because of the increased infectivity of Omicron. And that increased infectivity thankfully came with less harm to us if we were to contact Omicron, which is, a huge sense of relief. But the number of cases that we expect with the infectivity rate is going to seriously put us under pressure as a health system.
Dr Lloyd believes the nation's vaccination program is proving effective, but says New Zealand's almost lucky. The Omicron variant has largely taken over from Delta. Yeah,
look, we certainly have dodged the Delta bullet. You look at the morbidity that Delta causes. Compared to Omicron, it's a seriously good bullet to dodge. We were looking at significant ICU admissions with Delta.
He still believes being double vaxxed and boosted is the best defence to any further mutations or strains of the SARS-CoV-2 virus known as COVID-19. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The annual bluff oyster season is upon us, but be prepared for delays and possibly higher prices. Oyster fishers collected less than usual on the first day yesterday because of issues in transporting the southern delicacies north. Some Dunedin oyster fans were preparing for their first taste of the year this evening, with limited supplies set to arrive just before dinner time. Boats returned to Bluff from Fovo Strait yesterday, with the oyster factory workers ready to shuck the delicacies back in Invercargill. Veteran oysterman John Edwinston and his vessel Polaris was the first to return to shore around lunchtime with 35 bins of oysters. Prices for the delicacies range from $28.50 for a dozen fresh oysters in Bluff through to around $90 at a top Auckland restaurant. The oyster season runs through until the end of August. 3 years after the terrorist attack and mass shooting at 2 Christchurch mosques, one survivor is walking the same route the offender took from Dunedin in 2019. But Tamil Atakagugo says he's aiming to support peace and unity rather than hatred and division.
On 15th March 2019, the terrorists left Dunedin for Christchurch to create terror and carry out violence and murder. 3 years later, Brother Timur, a survivor of the terrorist attacks, who was shot 9 times by the terrorists, is also travelling from Dunedin to Christchurch, taking the same route as the terrorists.
Christchurch mosque shooting survivor Timo Atakugugu is set to walk from Dunedin to Christchurch in 14 days, raising money for charities that support young children.
It is important for me they support Gumboot Friday, Save the Children and Child Cancer Foundations, because we need to look after our young generation. They need to be healthy, they need to be mentally healthy and fit too.
Gumboot Friday is run by the I Am Hope charity, helping children and young people with mental health challenges.
My role is to not only get out there, but also use young people to share their own stories about their mental health struggles, so that other young people know that they're not the only ones that struggle.
Among the supporters of the two-week walk is Dunedin Multi-Ethnic Council President Dr. Lux Salvanessan, who says many of those shot had come to New Zealand in the hope of finding peace, not violence.
For this to happen to them at a place of worship, it just, shakes the core of what New Zealand stands for,
Timo Atakugugu was shot 9 times at the Al Noor Mosque and was convinced he was going to die at the time. He says his faith and determination will see him complete the journey.
I'm a stubborn Turkish man. My origin is from Turkey, so I will do this for our children.
Atakugugu is set to arrive in the Garden City on the 15th of March to commemorate the 3rd anniversary of the attacks. In Dunedin, the South Today.
There's been a COVID-19 outbreak at an aged residential care facility in Dunedin. The Southern District Health Board understands the outbreak in an unnamed facility had resulted in 20 of its 26 residents testing positive for COVID-19. Southern DHB COVID response leader Hugh Lloyd says the outbreak is being managed within the aged care facility, and none of the residents had required hospital care at this stage. There's just one person with COVID-19 in hospital in the southern region. The DHB says they were a patient at Southland Hospital for other reasons, but also had COVID-19. An Otago University scientist is trying to discover what's killing young yellow-eyed penguin chicks along the southern coast. The young birds died from a form of avian diphtheria, but the actual cause of the diphtheria has yet to be identified.
Already an endangered species, yellow-eyed penguins are now even more at risk due to a mystery disease. 3 years ago, researchers first noticed deaths of young penguin chicks due to respiratory failure. Called avian diphtheria, the disease can kill birds before they reach 2 weeks old, and scientists are struggling to identify what is causing the disease.
They've looked over these years for viruses, many different bacteria, and haven't landed on what is the true confirmation cause of this disease.
University of Otago microbiologist Janelle Wieringa has committed 2 years towards developing a pathogen discovery technique in the hope of being able to pinpoint more accurately what is causing the outbreak in penguin chicks. Part of her investigative technique is keeping an open mind as to what might be triggering the disease.
We can look for, is this a virus, which is, if we were to prioritize it, probably that would be one of our higher suspicions that it was. But we're not going to just focus in on that too. We will be able to look for bacteria, protozoa, fungal organisms, those types of things. Anything else that could be causing this disease within the hoiho chicks.
She's been going out on beaches and taking tiny swab samples from the penguin chicks, then analysing the samples back in the laboratory.
The good aspect of that is it's quite non-invasive and less stress, which is what we don't want to have more stress for the chicks with those sampling types of techniques, and we can do that very quickly. And so that involved going out there and getting those samples from both chicks that were healthy and also diseased, so the chicks that had sores and the ones that didn't, so then hopefully we can do some comparison there.
It's hoped once a pathogen causing the diphtheria is identified, it can be brought under control among the chicks. On a positive note, the Department of Conservation says this year the majority of chicks made it through the early critical weeks and have gone on to be healthy, being helped with a good supply of fish out at sea. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today. Another popular Central Otago event is cancelled due to COVID-19, and find out which Accara tourist attraction received a 5-star rating.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
My Mate John's massive store-wide sale finishes this weekend. The big one. John's taken a massive 20% off store-wide with up to 80% off clearance items. This is your last chance to bag a bargain with 20 to 80% off Dunedin's biggest range of furniture and beds. The big one. Final weekend at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street, or online at www.mymatejohn.co.nz.
That furniture from Stafford Street and My Mate John.
Hi, we're Age Concern Otago.
Age Concern Otago hosts a multitude of social activities, including interwalks.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Spark your joy with jazz, the next generation from Honda.
Every day the team at Gillian supports grieving families at their time of need, from answering your questions to organising a farewell that reflects the wishes of your loved one. We can help. Call Gillian's today.
Oh there, guess who? Do you recognise the eyes? Oh okay, it's a haircut. Anyway, it's Lindsay here from Alex Campbell Menswear. Our 3 stores are carrying on as usual. Despite what's happening in the world, we have got some great stock for you. Personally, I've spent 50 years in this business and we have some excellent supplier relationships. We've got great stock, it's hand-picked, it's here, it's on time, and it's ready for this great summer.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So, as my favourite cut says, keep calm and carry on.
Welcome back. For Highland dancing fans, Gore was the place to be over the weekend. The event was the local Piping and Dancing Society's annual competition, featuring a live bagpiper to set the rhythm for the nimble feet.
Putting their best foot forward, the Gore and District's Piping and Dancing Society held its 70th Highland dancing competition over the weekend. It was supposed to be a big bash with an anniversary dinner, but COVID restrictions put paid to that. President Susan Harris says Highland dancing remains popular with primary school-aged children.
We've had no competitions for such a long time that I think people are really keen to get their kids out dancing again.
Unlike many Highland events elsewhere which have to make do with dancing to audio recordings, Southland is lucky to have a real bagpiper in the form of Jordan Cake, especially as he has a strong background in Highland dancing.
He used to be a Highland dancer up until he was about 14, and then he chose to be a piper for the competitions, which is really good because a dancer who is a piper has really good rhythm and knows the speeds and the steps, what order and everything like that. So we're very lucky in Southland.
Harris admits that after a time away, some of the dancers had room to improve, but they were all putting their best into their performances.
Well, from what I've seen, it's a bit up and down because, of course, the kids haven't participated for quite a long time, and it's still quite early in the year from them getting back into their lessons and that, but they're all trying really hard.
There were 52 entries on the day, which was slightly up on last year. In Gore, the South today.
A popular autumn festival in central Otago is another victim to the current outbreak of COVID-19. The 37th Aratown Autumn Festival was set to brighten up the streets of the historic town in mid-April. But organisers have decided to cancel the 5-day event due to the ongoing threat of COVID and the risk and uncertainty its spread poses to the community. The annual event usually attracts a number of visitors to Aratown, with events including a parade along with several indoor and outdoor food and drink events. Organisers are now shifting their focus towards planning for the return of the Autumn Festival next year. A well-known tourist attraction in Accara called the Giant's House recently received a 5-star rating from the New Zealand Gardens Trust. Visitor numbers have crashed at the Garden of International Significance, but owner Josie Martin is still pressing ahead with expansion plans and enjoying the chance to be creative.
Giant, colourful mosaic sculptures tower above and all around you as you walk in the entrance of the Giant's House in Accara. The whimsical home and gardens was named by a small girl looking up at it from the valley below, who said it was so big it must be the house of a giant. It's the creation of Josie Martin, a sculptor, painter and horticulturalist who lives in an 1880s built house made from totara and kauri.
I'm always on the lookout for, things that are different. I've always liked things that are different, and so this has been a really good challenge. But yeah, everything inspires me.
Over the last 24 years, Martin has added some French flair to it, installed original artworks and created giant concrete mosaic sculptures in her terraced garden. But it wasn't until she dug up some old broken china in a garden that she got the idea to do mosaics, adding in broken tiles and mirrors to complete her works of art.
I lived in Italy quite a lot. I did 7 art residencies in Italy, and going to all the churches and seeing the art and a lot of Adam and Eves and angels. And so when I came home, I guess that was what was in my head. So it's a little bit autobiographical.
Martin is very well travelled, having completed 30 art residencies in different countries, and that's helped inspire her creations.
It is my passion, the art and the garden. And I wanted to build a garden where the art and the garden were completely inseparable and integrated, but also I can play one against the other.
The eclectic artist is always on the lookout for something different to keep her garden evolving.
I'm doing my passions, I'm doing what I love, and every day I'm so thankful for that. And when I look out the window and I see people smiling and laughing, that's my reward.
Despite the drop in tourists, she's pushing ahead with plans to make the Giant's House even bigger. The aim is to extend the garden space on a neighbouring property bought last year, along with building an indoor cafe. In Accara, the South today.
Still to come on the South today. We catch up with Gore locals joining an international running movement, and we find out what the weather has in store for you tomorrow.
My mate John's massive store-wide sale finishes this weekend. The big one. John's taken a massive 20% off store-wide with up to 80% off clearance items.
And my mate John.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Living Well Disability Resource Centre, a not-for-profit charitable organisation and your one-stop shop for information and resources to help you retain independence. We offer a wide range of assistive products from jar openers to mobility scooters and provide assessments for Total Mobility, the half-price taxi scheme. Come and see the friendly team. You'll find us on the corner of George and Bath Streets, ground floor of Burns House.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the Dines Group CEO. Dines is a company that's focused on selling logistics solutions to its customers. We're passionate about selling efficiency and we've been selling efficiency for over 50 years now.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Welcome back. An organised Saturday morning run around Gore's Hamilton Park is proving just as popular as similar events around the country and overseas. Gore's Park Run is part of an international movement where people get together on Saturday mornings for a 5-kilometre run.
From beginning in London's Bushy Park in 2004, park runs have now come to Gore. Worldwide, about 3 million people take part in weekly runs held at 2,000 parks in 23 countries.
It's been amazing. So the first week we had 54 people come through, which was amazing. Last week we had 36, and I'm not sure of today's numbers, and we've had terrible weather the last 2 weeks, so it's just been amazing to see people come out and embrace this great community initiative.
The Gore Park Run is only just stretching its legs, as it's one of the newest on the planet. Organiser Bridget McLeod first became aware of parkruns when she took part in an event in Auckland about 10 years ago. The Gemmell siblings, Matilda 12, Lily 10 and Jessie 8, enjoyed being part of the run on a rainy Gore day.
It was quite fun. It was hard in the middle, but I got used to it in the end and it was quite easy along the way.
Well, it was really wet and yeah, it was good. I saw puddles in the deep bits, and so sometimes my shoes got really wet.
There are 36 regular parkruns across New Zealand, and members can take part in events whichever city they're in. Barry Smith of Invercargill received a t-shirt in Gore for completing his 100th parkrun. In Gore, the South today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. The head of the Southern District Health Board's COVID planning team says the peak of Omicron could be just weeks away. A man who was shot multiple times during the Christchurch mosque shootings is making a pilgrimage from Dunedin to Christchurch for peace. And scientists are trying to investigate what's killing yellow-eyed penguin chicks along the Otago coastline. And now a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome Associate Editor Joe.
Hi. Fire erupts as police tear through the occupation at Parliament, ripping down tents, with a number of Southern police being called up to help in Wellington. COVID outbreak in a local aged care residential home, and we'll have coverage on their local case numbers. A follow-up inquiry into the dumping of demolition waste into the Clutha River comes out as it is revealed that Otago Regional Council staff refused to talk to the Environmental Protection Society last year. And a heroic beachside rescue by 2 surfers who saved the lives of 2 students after they were swept out to sea in Dunedin today.
Great, and you can catch all of that in tomorrow's ODT. And now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Starting with today's southern view, taken of Dunedin on the 2nd day of autumn. Looking at the situation, there'll be fine weather for the next few days as a large high-pressure anticyclone moves over New Zealand. Looking at what's in store for the southern towns, Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore can all expect light winds with clear skies and highs of 18 or 19 degrees. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes region, Wanaka, Queenstown and Alexandra are all in for light winds with clear skies and highs of 21 or 22 degrees, and it's similar in Te Anau but slightly cooler with a high of 18. Looking at the northern towns along the coast, Te Mararu can expect fine weather with light easterlies and a high of 19. It's similar in Oamaru also with a high of 19 degrees, but winds tend more northeasterly. And it will be warmer inland with Taizel and Marama. Looking forward to fine weather with light winds and a high of 22. In Dunedin, cold with clear skies tonight and a chilly overnight low of just 4 degrees. The weather looks fine tomorrow and Friday. It's mostly sunny with high cloud. It'll gradually become warmer with moderate northeasterlies. Thursday sees a high of 18 and a low of 8 degrees, while Friday is slightly warmer with a high of 20 and a low of 9. And in Invercargill, tonight there's clear starry skies but wrap up as it's going to be cold with an overnight low of 2 degrees. Tomorrow is fine and sunny with light winds, a high of 18 and a low of 5 degrees. And Friday will be fine and sunny with some high cloud, moderate northerlies developing throughout the day, a high of 20 and a low of 8. And that's the news this Wednesday. For the latest news and videos from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. Nō reira, kia pai te pou, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.